Bring a Trailer podcast.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Alex. I work for Bring a Trailer, and today we're going to talk to four really awesome folks. We've got here on the far side, Randy Nonnenberg, our co-founder. He's going to eat an apple while we're talking, so be prepared for that. Next to him, we have Anthony Serra, also known as 1600 Veloce. Anthony is a big seller on Bring a Trailer and is going to tell us a little bit about what that's like. And then we have Dean Lombach next to Anthony. Dean, also a power seller on BaT. He's been around for a long time. And then closest to me, we have our gracious host, Philip Richter. Welcome, everybody. And thank you all for being here, by the way. The main reason this whole day is awesome is because of all of you. So thanks for being here. Philip, I thought we could start by talking a little bit about the property that we're on. What an amazing place. It's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the farm?
Yeah, Alex, thanks. The ground you're standing on is Coker Farm. My mom and dad bought this land in 1977. We lived in Greenwich. My mom had a horse business. She had a 6-stall barn and 9 horses. So when the customers would come to ride their horses, she would move them into the barn from the paddock and, one of those deals. So she found this property and they bought it in 1977. I think if you present valued it, it was probably the price of a Toyota Supra, one of the fancy ones that people collect. Back then, it was a lot of money, but not a lot of money relative to today and what it is. And the really exciting thing is my mother was a very accomplished equestrian, training show jumpers, owning show jumpers. And from this very property we're on, we won the World Cup in Austria. We had a horse qualify for the Olympic Games, went to the Olympics from here, and a host of other competitions that she won over the decades. So there's a whole history here, and a lot of the top equestrians that today are famous and jumping all started here and kind of have a beginning here. So there's a real horses history, and now we add a horsepower history.
Good segue. That's what I was hoping for. Have you packed this many cars into here before, Philip?
No, and I will say, we've never had this many cars here. Some of you have been to the Turtle Invitational. Anthony is a great supporter of the Turtle Invitational, and Dean as well. But that's 100 cars held on that meadow, a much smaller event. But I will tell you, not to go out on a limb and to talk our own book, I've been to a lot of car shows, from Pebble to Greenwich to Amelia, all of them. And this isn't really a show. This is more of a cultural gathering. It's almost like a cult gathering. I don't want to say it's like that thing they do out in the desert. What's that
Burning
called?
Man?
It's not like
Is
Burning
this Burning Man.
Burning Man. But I will tell you,
Oh no, what have we done?
Randy, what have you done? Burning Man in Bedford. But I will tell you, I have met so many awesome people today.
Yeah.
And every one of you has been so gracious and friendly. I think 50 people came up to me and thanked me for the use of the property. And the diversity of cars, standing here when the cars, here's a Bronco coming in with Dickie Regal. But you stand there in the morning, it was way better than Dawn Patrol at Pebble, because you had a Saab 99, followed by a Pagani, followed by a Datsun 98 Regency Brougham from the 80s. I mean, it was just fantastic. So what a great day. Great to be here. And everybody welcome. And we're glad to have everybody.
Well, thank you so much for having us, Phil. We really, really, really appreciate it. Randy, hearing Philip really talk it up makes me think about kind of the origins of alumni gatherings and where we've come from when we started these many years ago. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the history of these kinds of gatherings.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks for having us, Philip. We're so pleased to be here. This is a really killer venue. Somebody asked me, what's the largest BaT gathering that we've had? And I'd say this is on par. This may be, if this beats Seattle, we had one that was total mayhem in Seattle and was very large. And this is probably right on par with that. So anyway, we are very, very psyched to be here, psyched to be on the East Coast, psyched to get your East Coast weather. I hear it's this weather every single day in the fall, so thank you. We'll come back again if that's the case. Thanks. But no, alumni gatherings for me, obviously BaT is something most people look at on their phone or their computer screen, and while that has a ton of benefits, You can't really ever replace, shaking somebody's hand and giving somebody a high five and seeing a auto union coupe pull in that you've never seen before in your life. And those sort of experiences in the car world are difficult to replicate, just, commenting and chatting and doing things online. So the interpersonal part of things has always been something that I've wanted to try to bolster up on BAT. And obviously the community component that gets talked about so much on BAT is such a key pillar for what we're doing. And so, I'm looking out at all of you. If you turn around a 180 and look out amongst
this is a little different already. We've never done anything
like a
this.
sea of people and people that want to talk about cars and be here and enjoy it. And hopefully the drive to here and back home is enjoyable for everybody. Those are things you don't get by staring at your phone in an elevator or however everybody's bidding on BAT. So it really kind of rounds out the BAT experience and hopefully also shows you that by us investing in this, this is what matters to us, is people connecting on it and knowing that we're real people and we'll shake your hand at the desk and it's not some shifty auction mystery. It's real people that are doing this that are passionate about it, and we try to emphasize that.
Thanks for talking about that, Randy. Anthony, you helped put this together. You're maybe the spearhead. Is it going as well as you had hoped?
I think so.
He's a man of few words.
He sure is. I was hoping you would expand on that a little bit more, but
Can you elaborate?
The community this is what it's all about. Everybody is here, and everybody has a common thing. They love cars and love people and want to talk about their cars.
yeah, we love having everybody out for these things, and this kind of exceeded my expectations. Anthony, I noticed it's your 1600 Veloci is your username. Today is 1600th auction. Is that a coincidence, or was that did you plan that?
I think HUD challenged me a few weeks ago down in Pittsburgh 2 months ago. What's going to be 1600th car? Right there. That yellow Alfa Romeo.
1600th car. 1600th listing on Bring a Trailer right here. 1600 Veloce as we sit here at the farm. Amazing.
Yep, it went live last night, and it's basically exactly how I'd want to have a step nose Alfa. It has right power. Maybe the color's controversial, but the rest of the car is spot on.
I'm pro yellow cars.
I know you are.
That's right. 5 days left, live right now. And Dean, last but not least, you're a hard man to wrangle, the elusive Dean Lombach, but you've been on BAT a really long time, Dean, and we're really happy to have you here. Really nice to meet you in person for the first time today. You're coming up on 500 listings yourself. You've done quite a few. How are things going on BAT these days for you?
Absolutely fantastic. I love the venue to the point where I don't market my cars any other way. When I get a car in, it goes through the process. 7 days, it's sold, and I just absolutely can't. I can't even think of marketing a car any other way. I love to Bring a Trailer auction process. It's like it has a lot to do with I'm a competitive athlete. I love competing, and when I sell a car, to me, it's a competition. In 7 days, I get judged. Win, lose, or draw, the car sells. And I love the process.
Are we going to see you and Anthony going to duke it out later? Is there going to be a little bit of a fist fight?
Anthony is the godfather. He is the king. I'm a very small operation. Anthony, I think he's the hardest working guy in the entire industry.
I think that might be true.
100%.
I think that might be true. Philip, how did you and Anthony meet? What's the connection there?
Well, we're neighbors. I mean, he's in North Salem. I'm nearby, and I unfortunately have several V12 Mercedes
Huge
that are
mistake,
hard
man. What are you
to
doing?
maintain, and Anthony and Lorenzo and the whole team, they keep them running. But the thing that's unique about both of these individuals is their attention to detail. And I will tell you, when I bring a car to Anthony, I brought my S600 W140 coupe, and Lorenzo calls me. He said, "Listen, on the right passenger side where the mirror is, there's a plastic piece that's against the inside of the mirror. It's loose." I said, "I didn't even know that." He goes, "Well, we're going to replace it." I said, "Really?" He goes, "We want it right." And of course that was not cheap, but the car is 100% right. And Dean, I bought 2014. It was.
The 560 is.
I bought a 560 SEC W126 or C126 coupe from Dean. The car was sold here in Greenwich, new, owned by Bob Hatch, had a great history. And I bought the car, and I talked to Dean, and he said, listen, it's not perfect. There's this, a little bit that, a little bit that. He goes, it's a good, solid car. I went to go pick it up at a shop in New Jersey. It was the best 126 coupe I've ever seen in my life.
He was underselling it.
I mean, it's about under promising and over delivering, and both of these guys do that to the T, and it's great to do business with both of them.
They absolutely do, and they're both model sellers. I actually want to ask them both about their approach and how they do it and how they've built reputation and trust on BAT, but just kind of in the car world in general. But before that, Randy, maybe you could talk a little bit about the philosophy behind a Bring a Trailer auction, why we value sellers like Dean and Anthony so much.
Happy to do that. Been having that conversation with a lot of people on the grounds today. A lot of these cars back behind you have been bought on BAT, as many of you know. Hopefully, a bunch of you could raise your hand if you bought a car on BAT. And it's
Let's see. Look at that.
Look at this. I love that.
Yeah,
that's my favorite thing to see. So thank you so much for that. But yeah, philosophically, these guys. I mean, you can hear their words, and they fit into the sort of mantra of what we're trying to do, of the transparency on a BAT auction and the human nature of it and the communication. We try to keep communication channels open. We try to have it be very thorough and just approachable, right? I mean, there's a couple motorcycles out here that probably sold for, $10K or so. And then there's some crazy Ferraris and race cars and everything in between. And so that philosophy of having an open door to everybody to get to use it, I think has been part of the magic of BAT and what makes it fun to open up on a given day and see what's there. So I think that's been super important. And then, yeah, our team, hopefully, if you haven't gotten a chance, the black tent right behind here is where a lot of the BAT team has been hovering and answering questions. And that openness and availability is something that I think is different, right? You try to sell on a lot of different websites, and there's not a human that's going to chat with you or discuss your vehicle. These guys do that in a very frontline sort of way, but we also try to do that and back that up on BAT, which hopefully is helpful. So, yeah, anyway, there's a lot of components to it, but those are some of the most important ones.
Like Randy says, it matters so much for us to have a real human that you can talk to when you're selling a car on BAT, and we really want to encourage sellers to be real humans and talk to our community as well, talk to potential buyers, even talk to the people in the peanut gallery who have questions and may not necessarily be a bidder or a buyer, but are certainly interested in the car and maybe a mark expert. Anthony, you and I were talking about that a little bit this morning, and you mentioned here in your first statement how much the community means to you, and that's what we're seeing here, but also the online piece of that has been really important for you building your brand. Talk to us a little bit about how you kind of have evolved the way you deal with folks when you're selling cars on BAT.
Well, you have to answer all the questions.
All of them.
Everyone. And I answer every question on every auction.
Are you doing that yourself, or is your team doing it?
100%. Yeah. So I will not sell a car that I haven't driven or I know or touched. That I have to have some type of connection to the car. And I think that's where the uniqueness, even before I got into selling cars on the site, we studied the early beginnings of Bring a Trailer, and Dean really was the model, I felt. And we would study and look at how he would prepare the cars and photograph them. And before I threw in my first listing, which was terrible. I mean, it was just done on a cell phone. and boy, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Was it a Vega or a Pinto?
Yeah, what was it?
It was
Anthony?
a 308 GT4. And the guy
And that was what, 2019 or older? 2017?
17.
Okay.
Yeah, so we studied the site for a few years, and Dean was really the guy that inspired me. And I'm really happy to have him here with me.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, I created a monster.
What was it, Anthony, that inspired you in him? The transfer. I mean, Dean uses his own name as his username, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and I'm not a real front-facing guy, as most people know. Yeah, I mean, Dean basically put his stamp of approval on everything that he sells, and that's unique in the car business.
Yeah.
And the way he prepares the cars, and he really knows what he's selling. And obviously I sell, a pretty vast range. You can see all the different cars that we have on offer today. Some of them are not for sale. Some are just, display cars, but it's really difficult to know everything, and that's where the community comes in. I put a car up, I might not know everything about that car, but there's people out there that will chime in.
Yeah.
And they help sell a car because, basically anybody that's looking for a specific model car can roll into an auction with 10 minutes to go and scroll from the first comment to the top and make an educated decision in like a few minutes and bid on a car. That's very rare. I think this is the only site that's been able to do that.
I get educated way too often by our community in a kind of a humbling way. I thought I knew a few things about cars till I started working at Bring a Trailer. Dean, maybe that doesn't happen to you since you are the Mercedes guru, as some folks may know and some may not.
That's what people say. That's the expert. But I always tell them, listen, my mechanic is the guy that figures out the stuff that I cannot figure out. So, you have to have a good team. And the team, Anthony's team, I mean, Diane, and he's got a team of people that work for him that are like, they're soldiers. They're following their general, and I know he's not an easy guy to work for, but I know that for certain. But when he presents a car, he goes through. He's very knowledgeable about it, and I feel the same way about the quote unquote peanut gallery. They help me sell a car because they're asking the questions that people, the way you answer the question has a lot to do with how it's being presented to the interested bidders. And the only, like a lot of times people complain about the peanut gallery. They say, that comment should be flagged. I never ask people to flag comments on my cars. The only thing that pisses me off is when somebody comes in with 5 minutes left in the auction and they call something out on the car. And I'm like, like something on the undercarriage. One guy pissed me off. It was like,
don't piss him off.
Don't piss
5
off
minutes left in the auction. He says, I think I see some rust on the, and I was like, no.
That person here?
That guy's,
Can we find that person?
right here in the blue shirt.
You want
see
to
him?
piss
He's
me
right
off.
there.
Ask a question like that with 5 minutes left in the auction. And I said, you asked that question yesterday, so I could put it back up on the lift and show you. and the way you handle an auction, you just have to always be open to taking additional photos, taking additional videos, doing a FaceTime, letting people know you can come out, you can see the car, you can drive it.
But Dean, I do remember in the discussion here about presentation and the importance of presentation. I was selling a 928 GTS through Dean on Bring a Trailer a couple of years ago. And he calls me, he said, Philip, we have to delay the auction. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, in the 928, they have those air conditioner systems in the back.
Oh, man, double air conditioning.
One of the vents had a small crack in it, like a tiny crack. And he goes, I'm on the phone to Germany. I'm trying to find the exact vent that'll fit this car because I'm not letting it go on Bring a Trailer with one thing wrong with it. And that's the level of attention to detail. And so we waited 10 days, and then I think you hit the record for GTS at that time on BAT because there was nothing that person could have said at the last second about that car.
I love that anecdote. Philip, when you're on the other side, when you are part of the peanut gallery, what are you looking for when you're asking questions, when you want to buy a car on Bring a Trailer?
I'm just amazed at the commentary, the depth of the commentary. Yes, there's some comments that are not helpful, but on the whole, the commentary is very robust, very accurate, and I enjoy reading it. I think everybody does. We've all burned up hours of our life that we'll never get back on Randy's site. Thanks, Randy. And I think, when I'm looking at cars, I'm kind of really looking at who's selling it, right? These guys, or 911R, or there's so many good sellers out there. Actually, there are many good sellers on BAT, and that's one of the reasons it's so successful. So I think it's the trust factor, who you're transacting with, the quality of the write-up on the cars, the fact that Anthony writes every single response, Dean writes every single response and follows up. Those auctions where the seller is doing those things, it's immediately apparent, and those are the people I want to transact with.
Totally makes sense. Randy, 18 years ago when you were firing this thing up, or 10 years ago when you were starting the auctions, were you cognizant that this might be kind of something that might happen where folks are kind of judging the reliability of the seller on your little scrolling blog?
Of course not. The short answer is no, not any chance, right? People ask often, that's one of the most common questions we get is, did you know this was going to happen? And clearly we did not. And it was, some stroke of timing, some stroke of product market fit, some stroke of the right people involved with it. But there were always sellers in some other venues that, you liked, similar to what Philip is talking about. You just be like, oh, I want to buy a car from that person. They present really well. They seem honest. They seem like the right people. And figuring out a way to build a platform that would appeal to those types of sellers and attract them, which obviously we have with these two pros here, but we have with a ton of individuals and other partners and a lot of other sellers that the features encourage the right kind of behavior through transparency and through more photos and through dialogue. And a lot of other venues, for whatever reason, that sort of infrastructure of how it's built doesn't encourage good behavior. It actually encourages bad behavior, right? And I always say that the used car business has a very well-earned, terrible reputation.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And it's full of sharks and terrible people as a result of that. So you got to be very careful. And so trying to combat that was at the core in the early days. And so did we know that people would love that? No, we kind of had a hunch, like hopefully people would like that. It's kind of nice when the good guys can win if you can manufacture that, but it wasn't a certainty and we didn't know. So we don't know what's going to happen this year and next year and the year after that either. We got to keep moving forward.
Yep.
Randy, when we were on a panel at Pebble, I think 2 years ago, you told a story about how, same question, like, did you know it would become this big a community, global, and really the fabric of the collector car universe? But you told, I think, a story about when you first got someone who made a comment on a thread of some sort, and the whole office erupted in like cheers because someone actually responded with one comment, right?
If you're saying whole office, that would be like my basement with nobody else. But
right, it was you.
If I was the whole office, then yes, you're exactly right. So yeah, early days the wins were very small. These days the wins these guys are piling up is like amazing to watch, and the velocity. But in the early days, just that feedback loop of somebody's reading this and somebody thinks it's interesting. Those were the wins in the 2007 and 2008 era, and all that stuff is permanent. If you ever want to have a really good chuckle, you can go back and read listings that we were talking about in 2007 and 2008, and there were many with zero.
Did you check out the bidder over here? There's a bidder, BITTER, that it was a bot on BAT.
Jay Harmon.
Yeah, your buddy, Philip.
Early days, or what is that?
2010. It's got an old school Randy write-up on it. It's fantastic.
That's fairly early.
He's got it in the hatch. You got to go check it out.
I love that. There may be some out here that are even earlier than 2010. But anyway, early days was just sort of a slog in a very small community, but it started to resonate, and that's what kind of made the difference.
Anthony, you were talking earlier about the right way to answer questions, the right way to address folks who are curious about the cars that you're selling. But the other piece of the presentation that you and Dean and other power sellers who've been successful on BAT are famous for are your photo galleries and your videos and the, showing everything about the car, every flaw, everything that's great about it, everything that's terrible about it. Talk to us a little bit about how that evolved over the years. You said you struggled at first, but you've obviously worked out the kinks.
Yeah, initially, I would say the first 200 listings were done basically by myself with a cell phone. And it slowly evolved into a point-and-shoot camera to now 5 people on my media team. And I have a camera car, rigging. I have a photo studio that we designed, which works very well because we pride ourselves in, when I say our photos have no post-production work, 0.
Amazing.
And that is very difficult to do. And I have to give my hats off to my team that's here. They're all working. I don't know where they are, but
yeah, this is like a co-production here.
Yeah, I mean, from the shop, we could start from the shop, but my vision, I let these guys, they just run wild now. And we do these crazy videos, and we're coming up with some new stuff for around the corner. I'm really proud of these guys. And I can probably only take it so far, and I'm hoping they'll take it to the stratosphere because it's it's more than just selling the car, right? It's the presentation. Yes, the photos are really important to us. Like everybody looks at cars on their phones now. We're out of COVID. Nobody's really sitting behind a desktop like studying the pictures, or maybe somebody that really wants the car will go home and look at it at night. But Randy developed with the team the app, and we slotted right in with the way we do our photography, so it works pretty much seamless and perfect in the app. And that's what we've been concentrating on. Like what most people don't know is we actually dialed back selling cars, and we're just trying to perfect what we feel is the next wave of how to present the car, and it's working really well. And we get a lot of great comments from people, and so we just keep doing it. People are happy about it, and it takes a big team to do what we're doing. It's not easy.
No doubt. It's very impressive. Quite the evolution. Dean, you go way back. Like I said, your BAT account dates to 2013. So from before auctions. You were telling me this morning that you were listed on eBay, and cars would get a big bump. You'd be like, where are all these people coming from?
Before Bring a Trailer, we had eBay Motors. And in the early days...
No applause?
It worked, and then it didn't work. You would sell a car on eBay Motors, and... you had a 50-50 chance of a follow-through after the car sold. So regardless, I noticed when one of my cars got featured on Bring a Trailer, and it was listed on eBay, and I think it had maybe 1,000 hits on it at the time. And the next morning, I look, and it had like 6,000 hits on my eBay counter. And I said, what happened overnight? And finally, somebody called me and said, yeah, your car was featured on Bring a Trailer yesterday. I said, holy shit. I said, excuse me. I said, to get 5,000 hits overnight, they have something there. There's a lot of people looking at this website. And it's great that they've finally evolved into, thank you, Randy.
Randy plucked it off eBay. Plucked something from Dean's off eBay.
Oh, yeah. I was an eBay seller, and... yeah, and at the time, I wasn't even a dealer. I was an enthusiast, and I was buying a couple cars, a year and playing around. But I had a name for myself with the unique Mercedes-Benz cars. And I remember that one listing, though. I remember the hit count just went crazy. And then I found the article, I read it, and I saw all the comments on Bring a Trailer. This was before the auctions even started on Bring a Trailer. Really, really amazing, though.
Awesome. Were you following Dean back in the day when he was on eBay?
That's what I'm saying. There were some people that would be great on other platforms, but you could tell that they were like wrestling. Like those platforms had their issues. So we tried to solve some of that, and that has worked in a collaborative way with these guys and many others. And but the early days. Many people may not know that early days pre-BAT auctions, it was. Hunting around for cool cars that were out there listed elsewhere. There wasn't a BAT sales channel. It was more just talking. It was almost like a magazine. It was talking about cool stuff that was out there. And some of Dean's cars were that, and some of you all may remember those days.
I think it's really cool to point out that it all began with passion, and that's really the kernel of everything good in life that starts. It's with a passion. And you were looking at all these cool cars because you were passionate about these cars.
Passion or neuroticism or obsession or too many late nights or however you want to define it, but I appreciate it. I'll go with passion. Thank you.
Yeah, just take that one, Randy. You can have that one. Philip, I was hoping we could kind of circle back to your story and to the farm here. What came first? Horses, cars? What's the tie-in there?
So horses definitely came first. My grandparents in Germany and my grandparents here in the States all had horses. So horses are in my blood. I still compete on the A circuit competitively. Cars came really. Lily Prey is out here in the audience, and Courtney Fisher, who are the daughter and granddaughter of Malcolm Prey. And I really credit my passion for cars to Malcolm Prey. I was best friends with his son. We went to grammar school in Greenwich, right around the corner. And sadly, Malcolm was killed in an automobile accident when he was 16. And then, of course, I glommed on to his dad, to Malcolm Sr., who owned the Porsche, Audi, Volkswagen, Nissan. All the dealers on the Post Road in Greenwich were Malcolm Prey's dealers. And so I really credit Malcolm with getting me passionate about automobiles. And that's where it really started. And then I went to shows all around the country with Malcolm, with some of his great cars, and with Lily. And it's been from there. We have the Malcolm Prey Achievement Center, which is right here in Bedford, New York, where we bring young people to come see the cars, get them excited about something, mostly from underprivileged backgrounds, get them passionate about something. And the cars are a metaphor, right? It could be they want to be an astronaut, a lawyer, a doctor, but the cars are a tangible representation of success and passion. And we've had Lily, like 15,000 kids come through our doors.
Wow.
And we teach them the basics. Mary Kay Satriano, our executive director. So it's really all goes back to Malcolm Prey, my passion for cars.
What were some of those early cars, Philip? Do you remember what first got you excited?
Well, absolutely. So when I was about 7 years old, young Malcolm and I were in one of Malcolm's 9 garages on his home on Round Hill Road. And I specifically remember pulling the door closed on a Gullwing SL.
Oh, man. That's
And, it's the kind of thing we knew we weren't supposed to be in that garage with those cars. And I think he also had a Carrera GTS at the time. And I remember climbing in that car. And I remember leaving the garage and being in the house. And when Mr. Prey came home, I somehow knew that he knew that we shouldn't have been in the garage and that we were playing with his cars. And he didn't know, obviously, but I was scared. And so really the Gullwing SL was a car that drew me early when I was 6, 7 years old. Malcolm and I might have gotten locked in the car. I think at one point we couldn't get out of it.
They have a weird door latch on them, as I recall.
We couldn't figure it out at age 7. That was a little daunting. But he had an amazing array of cars, Delahaye 135M, Bugattis and Ferraris, and also some great MGs. And he loved the diversity of cars like we're seeing here today. Really, I think if your dad was here today, he would just love the diversity of the cars, because it's not about whether it's a Pagani that's $1.5 million or an E30 M3, or frankly, even like at the Turtle Invitational last year, we had a Pinto wagon that was restored to the nth degree, and everybody loved it.
Yep.
So the beauty is, he had a diverse collection, and I think we all agree today that that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
Bring us together.
Yeah, it's a foundation, a bedrock of Bring a Trailer, Randy, to list everything.
Pinto wagons, baby.
I know, I got excited too.
Accept more of those.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
wood on the side.
Heck yes. Dean, was it always Mercedes for you?
I didn't grow up as a car guy.
Oh, interesting.
Even through high school, I mean, I always loved Mustangs and Camaros, and I was a typical middle-class kid that liked American cars. And it wasn't until I purchased, I did a lot of detailing work for collector car dealers. It was a part-time business, and I noticed when I was working on Mercedes-Benz cars, you're going over every square inch of the vehicle, and I said, damn, these cars are better than everything else. I mean, they're just so well made. They're so well engineered. And it wasn't until the late 1990s I bought my first Mercedes-Benz, which was really my first luxury purchase item ever. And fell in love with the car. It was a basic, I think it was a 95 or 96 C280. And I felt like I was in an S-Class when I was driving it. And from there, I just kept buying Mercedes-Benz cars for my personal use, and I loved them. I kept them immaculate. And the rest is history. I mean, for me, I do appreciate all makes and models of cars, but I'm most passionate about the Mercedes-Benz brand.
I love them too. I talking about washing them. I mean, Randy, you probably share the same thing. I remember washing my mom daily drove a 500E in the early 2000s. I got to take it to prom when I was 17. Yeah, very exciting. But I remember washing that car, Dean, same kind of thing. It's like, man, this thing's built well. What an amazing car. And I know you had some of the same things. W126, right, Randy?
W126 and W123, mom's wagon, washing mom's wagon in the driveway with dad, for sure.
Heck yes.
Many, many times.
And did you ever think a 123 wagon would now be such a desirable car?
Six-figure car.
Yeah.
My mom, who actually lived through driving one with a diesel in it, she's like, well, why are those on your website? Why are those? Like, she's happy to have moved on from the early 80s, but everybody, I actually want one and think they're amazing. Drove one recently, so it's funny how nostalgia plays that for whether you were an adult then or a kid then,
My mom's not here. She got a speeding ticket in that 500E when she was driving to school in the morning. She was a school teacher, going like 90 miles an hour down a backcountry road. Easy to go fast in those cars. We want to give folks an opportunity to ask questions, so I'll try to wrap us up here. Just a few more questions. Anthony, I was hoping one of the real aims I was hoping for here today is for you, as kind of one of the master sellers on BaT, to give advice to other folks who are either listing a car or thinking about listing a car. What are the kind of 2 or 3 top things that you would encourage a seller to think about when they're either listing or thinking about listing a car?
Well, for a private seller, the partnership program. There's many good partners. What do you have? 50 now?
Yep.
50 partners across the U.S. You can find, good photography through some of these partners, preparation work, and hopefully somebody that can guide you to get you a nice listing. Also, Bring a Trailer offers their own, services. They have, the white glove service, and you guys are still sending out photographers to people's houses. And it's all about just study another auction. If you're a private seller, look at, if you have a Porsche 944, go look at the chart, which, Bring a Trailer has an awesome chart pretty much on even a Pinto, I'm sure, has a chart.
Heck yeah, there's a Pinto model page.
So, just click on, look at the most expensive car and look at stuff in the middle and see what the differences are in the car and try to gauge what you need to get out of it for your own listing. As far as, other, dealers or pro sellers in the space, I think everybody has their own. I always say, we have a bunch of different chat groups. I talk to a lot of different sellers and dealers, and I always just say, stay in your own lane. If you do whatever you think works for you,
Yeah.
and you'll be successful. And try not to worry about what other people do. I mean, especially on the West Coast, we have 911R, we have Rob at Wob, and there's a bunch of other sellers too, and that do a really great job. But everybody has their own style, which is cool.
Yep.
Like Dean has his own style. Like he does like that front-facing video, which you'll never see me do that. But I think it really helps. It brings something to the car. It makes it feel more passionate and real. He walks around the car and talks about the car, and he's not just selling it. I always hate when people say, "I want to get rid of my car." Well, if you have a car you want to get rid of, that means it's not a great car in my mind. So that's like, it's a terrible sentence to come at me.
Totally.
Yeah, with so.
Yep.
But yeah, it's evolved. The site is evolved, and you even see like, I saw a car. It was like a week or so ago. A private seller was did his own presentation. I was like, wow, I'm like, this guy spent a lot of time. He studied what everybody else is doing, and he did his absolute best. I sent them actually a private, message to the contact seller, and I said, really nice job with your car, and you got a really nice result from it, and it shows.
We love it when we see that. That's changed a little bit too, Randy, right? I mean, back in the days when we're like, please take at least 30 pictures. A video? I don't even know what to do with a video.
Yeah, it's certainly come a long way. And one of the interesting things, you guys are hearing these guys talk, and we put them up here because they're sort of the pros and the example. But we have other, upstart businesses, people that are kind of a one-man, one-woman show across the country, and they're like, I want to replicate what these businesses are doing, what these individuals are doing based on their approach. And so to think of that flywheel effect of like the more people are coming on behind seeing this sort of great influence is super compelling and encouraging for me, right? I love people who are starting small businesses and trying to break out and do their detailing business like you talk about, or do their sales business, or talk to a photographer here who said he's full-time shooting BaT cars and he shot 900 cars that are on BaT.
Wow.
I mean, those sort of people that have the hustle and want to do it and have the right ethos and ethics, like, I love that there are examples of, I mean, sometimes what these guys are doing seems sort of distant and unattainable because it's so pro. But I love that there are people that see that, and these guys, I feed inquiries to folks like them all the time, and these partners, because they can kind of bring the next wave of people that are going to do all this in the right way, which I think is really great.
Totally agree. Dean, same question to you. Best practices.
Well, every seller on Bring a Char has their own kind of unique style of selling. I mean, Anthony's photography is just next level. Michael out there, his son, well, he's out there 3 o'clock in the morning at the dealership with his tripod. And then Howard has his own style. Our brother on the West Coast, Alec Cardio, does these elaborate films. And we all have our unique style of selling. At the end of the day, the key is to fairly represent the vehicle, highlight the strengths of the vehicle, both mechanically and cosmetically, and disclose. I tell people all the time, I've been doing this over 20 years. I've never in my life sold a perfect car. It doesn't exist. You're dealing with classic cars. They're old. They're no matter how dialed in you get them, cosmetically, mechanically, they're going to have flaws. And you just want to make sure that the buyer understands that. So if somebody wants to sell a car on Bring a Trailer, be ready. You're going up against a peanut gallery. I have clients all the time come to me with cars they want me to sell, and I just say, no, where did you buy the car? They bought it at XYZ auctions. I said, what you're going to do is you're going to detail the hell out of it, and it's going to get rolled across XYZ auctions again, and you're going to pass that, you know what I mean, down the road to the next guy. I said, but if you put it on Bring a Trailer, you're going to get your butt kicked, because that peanut gallery is going to notice everything. Yep. Yeah.
But as long as you're honest, that's the key. Be honest and truthful.
Honest,
straightforward.
Yeah,
that's what we've built it for.
Listen, if you're buying cars for a living, you go out, you buy the best you can, you bring it up to the next level, and you present it for what it is. You can't guarantee that a week later that the alternator is not going to go on the car, or maybe you missed a little nick under the spoiler or something. So, be honest with what you have, and buyers have to have realistic expectations too.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Randy, you want to say? I was going to give Philip the last word here before we go to questions. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, he can have the last word, but I'll dive in before the last word.
Yep.
No, we're just super happy that everybody's here today. We're super happy that you guys can voice a little bit of this. I know, Anthony, you're behind the scenes, but we like putting you in front of the scenes from time to time. We appreciate your words. Dean, every input that you have is appreciated, and your hustle is super appreciated, so thank you for being here. And I just wanted to extend, if I get a moment on the mic, just to extend a thanks to everybody who decided to share their Saturday with us. This has been, a fantastic day already. We've done a number of these events, and this is about the biggest. And there's a lot of enthusiasm in this general area, but also just in this time in BAT's history and what's going on in the general car hobby. Like, I think we're trying to serve that well and watch that grow and bloom. And a lot of the people that are here and the people, all of you, are part of that upswell, and we're thankful for it. So thanks for coming, and I hope everybody enjoys their lunch after we close this thing down and get to hang out together and socialize a little bit.
Hear, hear. Philip, what do you got to say?
I just echo Randy's comments about thanking all of you for bringing your cars and your friends and your children, and it was a great day. I think it's definitely a historic gathering. I think there's a certain vibe here that'd be hard to replicate under any other circumstance. And if I may, I would just tell the crowd, if you like this event, next September, the 21st of September, we're hosting the Turtle Invitational right here at Coker Farm. Online, you can go to the website, turtleinvitational.com, and we're looking forward to that. Similar vibe, a lot of great people in Bedford right here at the farm. And
can you guarantee weather this great, Philip? That's the question.
Yeah, no, we can't, but it's a tough one. But thank you, everybody, for coming. A wonderful, wonderful day.
Well, and thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. This has been fantastic. Should we open it up to questions? Oh, it's out there. The mic's out there. Who's got it?
Hello? Hi.
Over here.
Over here in the hat.
Hi. I drove here 400 miles from Montreal, Canada to make it out. So thank you for making it worth it.
Hey, is that the farthest?
awesome.
That may be the farthest award. Well done.
In a Lotus Elise, so yeah, a bit cantankerous. Anyway, I wanted to just say that from my perspective, I think the collector car marketplace has evolved in a once-in-a-decade way. 04 to 14, I would say, would be eBay and AutoTrader. 14 to present day, I would say, is Bring a Trailer and Content. What is the next evolution of collector car marketplaces?
That's a Randy question.
I love that question, future-focused question. So we have always had as one of our main sort of components of our ethos is ease. I think the easier you can make this for folks, the more people will engage with the hobby, the more people will trust it, the more people will use it, right? This is sort of the Amazon model, like make it as easy as possible for people. So adding features that are really a pain in the neck to add, like people said you shouldn't go anywhere near shipping, it's a pain in the neck, right? And it is, but you got to dive into that because that's a component of ease. And the partners that we built out, the partner network that we built out, that these sort of things are, drop your keys and they'll list it for you on BAT. Like that's, eBay tried some sort of ancillary businesses to do that, and it kind of had its ups and downs, and it's challenging. We don't do any of these features because they're the easy ones to do for us. We do it because it's easy for the user, and those are the things that I think are actually going to win long term. So I think you mentioned eBay and kind of having their heyday in the past. They kind of stopped doing that. They did it and kind of put it on cruise control. And I think if we're complacent and we're like, hey, look how big our event is at the farm, and we just congratulate ourselves, like we'll be caught up with and lapped in the next couple of years. So there's a lot of intensity within our team and our office to keep developing new features. I don't think the auction and the digital auction model is going to go away or be surpassed by some sort of other mechanism. I actually think the bidding and the way it works and the extension and the foundation of that is actually going to be here for a long time. I think it's really functional and appealing, but I think it's all the stuff that bolts onto it. That is building the app, which is another total pain in the neck to do, but it's the right thing to do. So those sort of things are what's going to guide it for the next 10 years, in my opinion. Thank you for your question.
Great question. Who's next?
One, thanks everybody for holding this. I had a couple of points to make. One, I want to congratulate everybody for having Bring a Trailer go from being a small and then major part of the market to, in my opinion, being the market in the stuff that we're passionate in. So one, I wanted to know how the process has changed, and has the post-merger, post-acquisition Bring a Trailer changed in a way that you, Randy, are appreciative of? Have they added value? Have they added capital? And two, you're obviously here being the ambassador to Bring a Trailer with all the partners that we appreciate. But what is your now day-to-day role? You mentioned forward-thinking strategies, etc. Just wanted to word about that.
Yeah, happy to. So yeah, many people know that in 2020 we did take on a majority investor in Hearst Inc. in New York City, not too far from here. You guys may drive past the tower from time to time. But no, we were at an interesting crossroads at that time and needed some support in a lot of things that you guys probably don't see on the website, but it's kind of in the background, but operationally running the business. And the goal and my sort of vision for that process and why we would, marry up in that way was to not have the customer experience change, but have our velocity change and have our stability be meaningfully more solid than it was. We had, a couple things duct taped together and some iffy things happening around 2020 when it got really big. Pardon me. We got some.
Everybody ready to get wet?
We're at a farm. Here comes the farm implements. But no. So anyway, so that was a very strategic decision, and I get feedback a lot that I thought it would change a whole bunch, but it actually didn't change that much, right? The community didn't change too much, and you didn't flood it with advertising or do some things that some people were nervous we were going to do. So that's very intentional. But we did build it and invest in the team and the structure and like better benefits for everybody working for BAT. The staff's now 160 people, right? I mean, it's not a little, room with a couple people in it. So to get to do some things that I think are sort of long-term wins, necessitated that sort of a join up. So anyway, I could go deeper on that, but in general, it's been very healthy, I would say. I think the fact that y'all are still showing up and still love BAT, and we can still talk about super success stories like consistent. So we didn't ruin it, I don't think. But if you think we did, come tell me, and I'll try to fix it. But beyond that, the day to day for me, I'm still the president. Some people think like I sold and bought a sailboat and disappeared, but I'm still full time with BAT, working with the team, working with a great bunch of leaders that we have on the team, but also working with outside expertise and giving us some sort of points of view that are helpful to sort of round out now that it's not a little baby company anymore, right? It's not a West Coast startup. It's sort of a global thing. Like you mentioned, we're moving into Europe. That's difficult to do by, like hand waving. You have to actually be pretty professional to go expand and do those sorts of things. So I'm focusing a lot on that sort of. My real dream is to, let everybody experience what it's like to transact on BAT in a positive way, instead of some people that are like, oh, you don't serve my market, or you don't serve my type of merchandise, or you don't do this, you don't do that. To all these success stories that you see parked behind you of all these vehicles, I would love it if, these guys, customers who are so happy with what they get, like if that could be everybody, right? That's not everywhere. That's kind of a unique BAT phenomenon. So I'm trying to expand it, and day to day still diving in to do that sort of thing so that we can grow and offer it in more places and to more people.
Great questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's do one or two more, and then we should let everyone have lunch, I think.
And apples. Eat the apples. They're
Yeah, you've been holding that.
unbelievable.
You've been holding
Are
that
these
thing for a
Washington?
long
You guys
time,
in New
dude.
York apples? Are these Washington? I don't know what they are, but they're fantastic. And so are the donuts and everything else.
Hi guys, Joey from Collectible Classics. Question for you guys, Philip, I guess also, and Randy. How do we make this an annual event, and how do we get more BAT on the East Coast?
Well, I was going to say, I'll jump in. There's going to be good answers here, but I'll jump in first. Anybody who has a super picturesque, beautiful farm, we've found one person so far that has one of those, and he's sitting right here on my left.
What's
and
your
he's
home
wonderful.
address? What's your home? No?
Yeah, if there's anybody else that has one of these in any of the 50 states, please tell me, and we will be there. I love this. It's so beautiful.
Phil, how about 1,000 cars next year?
That's right. That's right. Well, it's not my event, so it's up to these guys.
I also wanted to say thank you to Philip so much for having us all here. It's a beautiful event, beautiful farm, and everything's amazing here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Joey. We want to do one more, Ben. Anybody else? We got one more right back here. Let's do one last one.
I'd love to make this annual.
Amen.
We can do that.
Amen.
All right, there's the show of sport.
So my name is John. I'm Stratos on BaT, and I want.
Hey, welcome.
Hey, there's a
Pull up his account. Pull
long
up his
time
account. No,
commenter.
you're like a super regular. Wow, we've never met. Thank
Yeah.
you. I love meeting like usernames in the flesh. Fantastic.
I'm not like what's his name? Boya Boys.
Oh, there's some crazy people. I don't know. I think you're right down the middle. We like you. We like you. You're doing great.
I used to spend about 50 hours a week on BaT. I'm down to probably 20 now, but I specifically wanted. Dean, your wife helps me transport vehicles. My clients, Anthony, I lose my mind over your auctions, but specifically to Randy for helping my marriage. So my wife is really cool. She doesn't, she never got pissed at my car hobby, and she's like, buy whatever you want. And then, she saw me for hours on BaT, and she'd be like, are you working? I'm like, no. And then one day, she comes up to me and she says, I'm on BaT now. I'm like, what? You don't care about cars? She's like, yeah, I developed an interest in Jeeps. And I'm going to try to find you a Corvette because she knows I love C7s. I lose my mind about them. So she's literally completely into BaT now. Her name is Squally Street. She's a nut, and I love her dearly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Spreading the love. Fantastic. Good place to close out. Any parting shots, gentlemen? All right, let's let everyone get out of here. Philip, thank you again. And the big thanks is to all of you, to the community and to the people who came out to enjoy this lovely event today. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of it. Grab some food, and we will see you next year. Phil's going to have everyone out again next year, so hopefully we'll be able to do it again. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.